Welcome back to Partnerships Unraveled, the podcast where we unravel the mystery about partnerships and channel on a weekly basis. My name's Alex Whitford. I'm the VP of Revenue here at Chanext, and this week I'm very excited to welcome our special guest, Michelle. How are you doing?
I am very well. As I said, I'm just 13 hours off a flight back from London, meeting with partners and going to our annual tech summit in Albach, Austria. So I'm here.
Excellent. We haven't quite hit peak jet lag, so maybe I'm glad we're recording
Exactly.
now, not in like another 20 hours, so that's good. Maybe for the uninitiated, Michelle, you could give us an introduction about who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name, again, is Michelle Hodges. I'm currently the Senior Vice President for Global Channels and Alliances here at Barracuda. I have been in the industry and in channels and alliances really my entire career for over 30 years. And I've done all the jobs, right? I've carried the bag. I've run countries, geos. I've lived in all three theaters. Last 10, 12 years, I've been in global roles and have somehow built this reputation of helping, by and large, equity-backed companies drive their partner transformations, right? We're all on this journey to SaaS and now AI, and that requires a lot of change for companies. I do have a couple startups that, building brand new channels for SaaS companies like Aptio and GitLab, which was really exciting, and I learned a lot. And so now I'm here at Barracuda to help drive growth.
Awesome. So, Michelle, 13 hours off a flight, you've been managing globally, PE or equity-backed companies build or migrate and build channels. Sounds super simple, not complicated at all. I imagine some of that was quite taxing, some of that mentally stimulating, some of that somewhere in between. Talk to me about some of those key experiences and maybe what those lessons taught you about the role you're in today.
Yeah, it's taxing, but it's all. I thrive off of impact, and so this is the perfect role for me to be able to wake up and look back a week ago, or 6 months ago, or 2 years ago, on the work that we've done as a team. Um, some of the key things that I'm certainly proud of is you take someone like GitLab. So GitLab was an open source or is an open source platform, fully SaaS based. And when I started, there was really no people, no partners, no contracts, really not a lot that was in place. And to take a look at that business and that go to market and to understand what is required to drive growth for that company from a partner perspective was, taught me a lot, right? That was a company that was on the road to a unicorn IPO. The rule of 40, which is efficiency to growth to profit, was super important. So how do you make sure that you're helping your customer consume the technology to the fullest of their potential while building out this channel? And so we, really got clear on what the board's metrics were and built a channel around that. So a lot of it was new customers, a lot of it was services growth, a lot of it was accelerating the pipeline. And then you build a plan behind it. Here at Barracuda, we have this great legendary channel, great brand, great product innovation that's coming down the pipe. On paper, why do they need me? What am I going to do for them? But the reality is we've got the, infrastructure, all the great new technologies that we can use to engage and enable partners that need to be put in place, moving from single product sales to a platform sale, the introduction into AI and how that's going to help our core customer, who are MSPs, lots of opportunity for growth.
And I think someone who's built their reputation and sort of background and talent and experience building that sort of high impact channel transformation, probably quite a useful time to have that skill set, because whether your product is based on AI or influenced by AI or just AI is going to turn everything upside down, I can imagine it's like, well, we have to build new programs, new practices, new strategies. When you're sort of holistically looking at where you are today and where are you headed, or where do you want to sort of finish? How do you pull that problem apart, put it back together? What are the Lego bricks that sort of make that strategy come together?
I'm famous. I've got a couple of phrases that I say all the time, and one of those is build the channel you want, not the one that you end up with. And so really starting from that vision perspective, right? We know what the board needs. We know what the company needs. We know what our key kind of metrics are going to be. And so you take that look out 18 months, 3 years, 5 years, and you get started. Some things you have to stop doing because you've been doing things to service a legacy model. So figuring out what you need to stop doing and where you need to double down, and going forward. I'm not a big fan of I've arrived and there's a new program and everything's going to be great. One thing GitLab taught me was the power of iteration. And so,
Mm.
how you can build that vision, but then create gates to help you accelerate towards those pieces. Now, metrics are going to be super important. Some lighthouse metrics, it's normally something around partner value, right? So it could be a point system, it could be deal reg, but getting clear on those top line metrics. But then also the tail and channel transformation is in the trending, either forwards or backwards. So building yourself a book of metrics to see how you're doing, right? Whether your conversion's up, your conversion's down, your certs are up, your certs are down, down to the lowest common denominator, so you can be super tactical about how you make your investments. Does that sound right? Does that?
It definitely sounds right. If your jet lag's talking, that sounded perfect. I think maybe one of the things that and I love your point around iterations. It's something I really try and instill in
Yeah,
my team here, that I actually hate the word strategy. It's become sort of a joke on this podcast, because I think we really pride ourselves on, like, here's going to be my 3-year, 5-year, 10-year vision, which there is a time and a place to have that conversation. But so often it's like, well, let's build the thing, or let's try the thing, and then we're going to get new data. And that new data tells us if this is a good idea, right? Like,
100%.
we pull this lever. Did the thing happen? Maybe. Okay. Then we
Yeah,
crack on. Do we pull it more? Do we pick a new lever? And so I think that's a really important lesson, especially when you're talking about global programs that are never going to be consistent. They have to be localized to a degree, and there's some
absolutely.
nuances
Yeah.
there. Um, when you're creating some of those changes, I think one of the things that's most complicated is getting those changes or transformations to actually stick.
Mhm.
Like, that people adopt it, that people believe in it. Talk to me about some of this more softer, the cultural stuff. How do you get that buy-in through the organization?
This is something that I've learned through age and experience that I want anybody who wants to ever be a channel chief to hear loudly. Um, if your CEO and your board and your ELT is not 100% behind you and driving these transformations, you will never be successful. That's a battle that is taxing it, and you will ultimately lose. So be very clear about the choices you make around the partner outlook and the partner value before you join a company. You might have a CRO that is great, but the CEO is not there and the CFO is not there. It's just it's a taxing battle while you've got all that other work to do as well. Um, I think the rest, another good portion of it is vision setting and storytelling, uh, and and bringing the entire audience along with you, right? Um, y- you, you'll find me super organized, from a communications calendar out to the partners, internal QBR and cadences, partner advisory boards, and opportunities to meet with partners as a group, as well as strategic partner QBRs, right? And driving those conversations with vision, but also allowing for the feedback to loop into those forward conversations. So make sure you've got support, but then also get on the road, drive your vision, but listen and build that back into the plan going forward.
You've used some of my favorite words already, which is sort of iteration or experimentation, feedback and data. And I think whether it's qualitative feedback, quantitative data, there is such an important need, especially, and I think this is one of the nuances that lots of people who are listening to this podcast can really struggle to understand. When you're sitting at a centralized global role and you have to build something that works everywhere,
Mm,
that's really hard to do just from a feedback perspective, right? You're
yeah,
not speaking to the partners in Brazil and in New York and in London and in Paris and in Tokyo, right? So
right.
how do you build scorecards, track trends, look at data to help understand, hey, I pulled this lever. We thought this thing was going to happen. Did it happen? Is it happening as much, as fast, as quickly as we wanted? How do you contextualize all of that?
Yeah, back to that scalability piece that you were just talking about down to the field. The truth lives in the field, right? So no
Hmm.
matter how you build a beautiful plan and all the ELTs on board, and you've got a gorgeous scorecard, which we'll talk about, you gotta listen to the field and you've got to bring them along with you. So, but the scorecard, you know, to me, it's lowest common denominator. In a SaaS leaning world, and I'm going to layer AI because we're learning a lot about that. in a SaaS leaning world, um, the customer life cycle is kind of the driving, um, in a sales role, so we're not talking ecosystem, kind of the
Mhm.
driving view of how successful you're being from top of funnel all the way to close, win to renew, grow, cross-sell, upsell. And so building your metrics and partner value across every stage of that life cycle and then chopping and changing it every which way, right? Ideally, you wanna take it from a global to a geo level, but if you can get it down to product and rep, if not rep, territory is great. You can then start to see your trending of up and down of where you're doing well. If you've optimized your MDF and your OpEx spend and your headcount productivity against that, you can get a red light, green light view pretty quickly of what's working and what's not working over time. And then you take all the qualitative activity that you've been doing to be able to overlap it. AI is pretty exciting because it can start to see things that you can't see, right? Um, and it when you combine that with 30 years of experience or super dark smart data scientists and what they're seeing to be able to help you see trends that you're not seeing, that is very exciting. And we've already seen it be helpful.
Yeah, to double click on that point, because I think it's the one that's often missed with AI. I think we're also focused on sort of language models that, hey, I can use AI to be smart, ask smart search questions, whereas actually AI from a data analysis perspective is unbelievable. And I think what's amazing is I can very quickly see a world where, oh, I can't get qualitative feedback from every partner because that's not possible. And you start to go, oh, but AI can, and then capture and then distill that information down. I think the feedback loop, the velocity of that feedback loop, and maybe the accuracy of that feedback loop is going to get really interesting.
Yeah, actually makes me think we're doing a partner survey, and have we explored how AI might best help us get all that unknown data out of the survey. Right.
Yeah, one of the things that we've experimented and it works really well is feeding an AI model with an objective outcome, and
Mhm.
then it can layer questions, but based on the contextual. So rather than asking three questions, you ask one question, but based on the answer, the AI model is able to ask a second and third question to sort of explore, but nuance dependence. You're actually more conducting an interview, and that for me, when my tech brain just gets all excited because I
So
sit there.
data-driven precision questioning. I love it.
Yeah, unbelievable. What would it be if I could interview every partner that we work
Yeah.
with? What would that look like? And then suddenly you go, "Oh, I can. Oh, this is like fundamentally possible in a way." And I just think the ability for senior leadership to make really accurate decisions based on both qualitative and quantitative feedback, that's exciting.
Oh my
That's a
gosh.
nice world to be in.
Well,
Um,
Josephine has joined the chat, so
oh, excellent. Well, Joseph, welcome. It's funny. We talk a lot on this podcast about the three Ps, which in my world means product, program, people. And then you've got your own version of this, which is people, product, partners.
well
Why? Talk to us about why those three Ps matter and how they guide your day by day principles.
first, in many ways, I curate my career, out of interest of things I wanna learn and wanna do, um, and then later in my career as a desire to be able to contribute. Um, we all want a legacy. This channel is sadly not sadly, but it's gonna be mine. Um, and so when these transformations take 2 to 3 years, and at some point you're running the business, and if making impact and learning is kind of my guiding principles, sometimes it's time to move on. So I do look for those three things: people, product, and partner. From a people perspective, it's the culture. More and more, it's I think an automated AI driven world in partnering needs to be based in relationships and trust and authenticity. And so a culture that's going to enable that was really important to me, right? The next is product and innovation. I have been looking for an MSP built for purpose platform for 15 years. I mean, and even in a SaaS environment, MSP to do that, MSP has to be customer zero. And so I was just thrilled to find Barracuda where that is our truth. We are building our products for MSP consumption, understanding where the market's going to. And then a partner piece, I wanted a big channel. I wanted a loyal channel, well branded. I wanted a channel that needed a ecosystem expansion because that's some of where the coolest stuff happens. Um, but then again, the state of this channel, like who gets to do this? Who gets to take the Barracuda channel with all the tools and processes and innovations that are happening in our world? Who gets to do that, right? That combined with the Barracuda channel and the opportunity we have today. So yeah, that's what led me here.
It's a really good answer, even after 13 hours on a 13 hours on a plane. Um, We have, when we were doing our prep call a few weeks ago, we landed on something that is sort of close to my heart. I spend a lot of time speaking to MSPs, and
Cool.
I get the same answer from basically all MSPs, which is we recognize we are not good at marketing. That is not a skill set that is in house often. And so we are hoping to get more help from a demand generation perspective. And I know, Michelle, when we spoke, you talked about the importance to balance how do we create scalable demand but also build intimacy and understand that partners are about people and relationships. How did those two worlds come together and how do you help support your partners that way?
Yeah, I'm thrilled with how our marketing plans are shaping up moving forward. It's a mix of air cover and digital combined with in-person engagement, right? And so um, you'll everyone knows Barracuda from the airport, but what's the newer way to make sure that we can help folks understand um, the platform Barracuda as opposed to the product, the single product that you saw in the airport. So lots of great ideas from that perspective. And then making sure that we're present. So we have our Discover series, which is our partner summits that are in each geography. We have our Secure series, which are in the US, NFL cities or major European cities of local customer and partner events where we can connect with our folks. We have our Tech Summit, which I really hope we expand to the US. We're launching in 2 weeks a rebranded something we call Coup de Co-Sell, which was a traditional call down day. But now we're using all these great tools like digital sales rooms and AI generated data around their customer use cases, sales plays, and whiteboarding and call scripts and contests to show up to address the entire partner business. So bringing everyone into the room, not just the inside sales team, right? The sellers, the marketing, the rest. And then you've got a living, breathing digital sales room that you can measure engagement on going forward. So we'll be doing that at pace as well, combined with contests and stuff to engage the individual. So I love this kind of nuanced approach to go from air cover all the way down to the individual sales reps. I think additionally, there's incentives. You got to think about hitting the partner from an incentives perspective from the making sure the customer is served, making sure the business owner is served, making sure the sales team served, and the individual. So how do you organize that as well? So yeah, lots of exciting fun things.
Sounds really simple. Um, um, we touched on legacy, and I know I was saying before I got a 9-month-old, so maybe legacy is on my mind more than it's traditionally been. You've been a huge advocate for driving women towards roles in the channel specifically. Why is that such a well-suited environment? And maybe to the audience out there, why should they be proactively looking to bring that talent into their businesses?
Some of it's from personal experience. You know, and I'm going to be super as authentic as I can be here. As a woman leader, particularly at middle management in your young 40s, right? You get to a point, you're a parent and you have aging parents and you're rising in your job and your job is really hard and you're trying to be perfect at that and perfect at everything else. And so many of me and my colleagues and friends get to this point of, can I really do this? Right? Am I able to do that? And I had the epiphany that, hey, I put this much time into my career. I'm good at what I do. I want to double down at doing that. And as I went forward, and secondly, also decided at that time that, you know, I want to learn more about being a woman leader and what it's going to take for me to get to the next stage. So really leaned into mentorship and coaching for my own self as well as for folks in my team. And then through that journey, I found that as I've talked to women in tech, I have found channel to be a great landing place, right? Channel and marketing, but channel to some degree because you get to touch every part of the business. You can have a technical role. You can exceed in sales and all of those things in an area where your unique skill sets of multitasking and relationship building are really valued. And so I've brought a lot of women from technical roles, right? As they start to get into middle management, the culture just doesn't fit their skill set, but also how they need to run their life, for example. And so, yeah, keeping women in technology is super important to me. And I think channel is a great place to land.
Amazing, Michelle. Well, we started with legacy. Let's finish with legacy. I like to cheat to build legacy, so I always ask our current guest to recommend our next guest. Michelle, who did you have in mind?
I recommend two, I think. One is Nima Badi. He did technology alliances at GitLab as a partner. We were two in a box. And he understands more about the technology alliances, particularly cloud alliances, and how to integrate them into the business, both from a or not both, but from product, from go to market, all of those aspects, and is just a great networker, has built an amazing network. So he would be great. And the other is Teresa Carrigal, who's the CEO of Achieve Unite and the author. I'm going to forget the name. Strategic Partnering, I think, is the name of the book.
Mhm.
And she is such a community builder and thought leader in our industry that everyone needs to know who she is.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for helping build our legacy here and joining us today and sharing your wisdom. It's been awesome.
Thank you for the opportunity, Alex.